So here is Munson Slew at the Ocala 3-day event, and this is our veterinary inspection, or it's also called the trot up or jog. This is where the vet and the ground jury, the two dressage judges that you see at the right, are inspecting the horse, making sure they're sound for competition. It also gives them a baseline for when they see the horses after they run cross country. So we must always jog down this hardened strip, and then we always turn to the right around this flowers. Of course, it's windy, so Munson's spooking a little. And again, you want your horse really looking its best, turn out, and then we also want to dress appropriately too. So he passed with flying colors, and we move on to the dressage. And I come down the center line nice and straight. Now, Munson was, I believe, third from last, so we had the footing was a bit different than when I was on Sharpie, who was at the very beginning of the division. There's 70 plus horses, so I had to be kind of mindful. The footing was still really good as far as I didn't feel him slip or anything, but I did put studs in. So the difference between having footing, a prepared surface, and grass is you do have to be mindful. And you'll see I'm really making sure I go deep into my corners, kind of going outside the track a little bit so I can get fresh ground. And he did a fairly decent medium across the diagonal and into our leg yield. And I'm actually pretty happy with how forward he feels. Sometimes for Munson, engaging from the hind end can be a little hard, and he doesn't want to kind of step up and through. And I still have a little bit of that head wag, and that's again his security and the connection with the bit. We do a nice walk trot transition, preparing for the next leg yield. This test can be a little bit more difficult because things do happen pretty quickly and off of the corner. So there I almost went too far past the center line to my half 10-meter circle. But again, I'm trying to keep the engagement from behind, trying to keep my hands steady and still. Could be a little closer with my hands. And into the halt. Almost. I needed to really press him up to get the hind end engaged, to get the really good mark for a square halt. But I was quite pleased with the backup. Was nice and supple and soft. And now working into our medium walk. And then we must go a half 20-meter circle from V. You want to have the extended walk to really get them stretching out, taking the contact. He could take the contact a little bit better, but the walk is very marching. And then, like I said, we did the half 20-meter circle to P. Now I'm going to shorten up my reins, going into the medium walk, show a transition in the frame, and then trot at F. And canter at A, and then again it happens pretty quick. We have a 15-meter circle right away, so you really have to be thinking as you pick up the canter that you're turning. And then we go into our 3-loop serpentine, which I try to ride a little bit better than I did on poor Sharpie. Still, I suck at serpentines pretty much, but overall it was much better. And he's trying to be a little spooky down at the end near the vendors. But he comes back into a nice medium canter, into the counter canter for the trot at K. And again, trying to go deep into my corners, prepare and canter, 15-meter circle. I could have a little bit more jump in the canter, but there's a line with Munson that you can push, so it's trying to get him to want to go forward. And again, working on my loop, but the apex is supposed to be over X for the 3-loop serpentine, so they can be the same. And then 5 meters of the center line, so almost to the quarter line. And there he spooked. I could feel him building up to it, and I was trying to kind of hold him there and gave a little spook, but I was able to get him back. Still gave me a decent medium canter into the counter canter trot transition. And then down the center line. I was quite pleased with the test. We just had the one little bobble with the spook, but overall it was a really nice, solid test for Munson, and was quite pleased with him.
Good job.
Thank you.
Now on to cross country, and again, I am near the bottom to go, so third from the last, and you'll see the footing is quite a bit different because we did have some more rain. So it was still perfect. The horses felt great on it, but I did have to be mindful of where I was galloping. So you'll see I kind of go on the inside lane there, jump fence number 2, and then I'm making sure I'm either kind of near the rope or to the side of the rope so I can get the fresh ground. Heading to fence 3. Again, the beginning is getting your horse up and going and keeping them in the balance. He jumped that really nicely and then right out of stride, so it really didn't take much effort. And then heading on down to the 4AB combination. And this was just the easy 3-stride over the roll tops there, which he did nicely. And then after that, we come up here, and you'll see Munson's actually spooking at the intermediate or the 3-star fence to the left, so I had to get him to focus on what he was in fact doing. He can be a spooky horse, but he does this exercise really nicely.
Well done, Munson.
And then I'm able to get the side view of it, but it's blurry because it had been raining, so but you guys can see what that kind of looks like from the side. And again, I'm kind of making sure I have good ground to travel on and just letting him gallop here. He has a really nice, efficient gallop. Now coming up to this corner, I'm going to sit up and I'm going to balance a little bit. But he's really easy because he does it quite well, and I'm able to be pretty quick through that process. Come around the corner to this fence 8, which is really small. So I'm going to really ride a tight line on that inside line. And again, anytime you can save space on your lines, riding an inside turn, that saves your horse's legs because you're saving ground, and it saves you on seconds. So here's Munson through the water. And again, he's gotten so much braver about going into water. At this event last year, he was actually eliminated at the water, so I was really pleased with how bold he was going into it. And he's got just a lovely gallop, really efficient, cantering up the hill. We head to this big table. Coming down the hill, I'm having to prepare him for the turn to the keyhole fence, so I want to make sure he can see it, because again, he's a bit of a spooky horse. I'm going to ride him pretty positive, and he jumps it really well. I'm able to take the inside line inside those intermediate 3-star fences. Again, trying to save the ground. And now we're heading to this combination, and I'm not really having to change him too much. He's got such a good balance. He pretty much rides like a grid or gymnastics, and he just pings right through there. Felt really great. And now we do a nice gallop up the hill, heading towards the big table. So again, trying to get it right out of stride. Does that really well. And now coming down the hill to this log that's a little bit on an angle. You want to make sure horse again is in good balance. He jumps that quite lovely. And now heading down the hill to these 2 tricaners, so they have a ditch in front of them which you can't really see, and it's on the 4-stride, so you want to keep coming, and he jumps through there no worries. And he feels really great at this point at the course. I know on the helmet cams I always get asked sometimes what the beeping sound is, and that is our stopwatch. So our stopwatch is set to beat every minute, and so then I know where I am on course. And now coming down to another 3-stride combination. I have to correct him a little bit here to make sure he kind of is in the right balance. And then there are crossings where people can cross, and the horse has the right of way, and I knew they were moving out of the way. So Munson didn't worry too much, but it is up to the pedestrian to make sure they pay attention and keep a heads up when horses are on course. And here we're doing the road crossing. This is where we had a bit of a hairy moment because, again, Munson's spooky, and he's spooking right there at the advanced jump, and we almost took out one of the stakes, and we can in fact get a yellow card for dangerous riding if you go and you jump the ropes or anything like that. So it's a little worrisome for me. I kind of didn't like how tightly roped these lanes were around jumps we had to go past, but all in all, we were no worse for wear heading up to this water jump. And I had to get his attention a little bit because there's a little crowd next to the jump, but it's really good practice. He hesitated some dropping in the water, but the key really for Munson is to just really wait for him, stay supportive, stay behind him, and not get too worried when he takes a peek. And coming to the second to last fence, he kind of gave that a tap, but again, he's still feeling really fresh. And we're coming down to that road crossing and head to the last fence. And again, I have a lot of horse. He just zipped around that course really, really well and inside the time. And I was really proud of how he finished up. So now we have the second trot up or jog inspection for the ground jury and the veterinary to look over. And Munson recovered really well after cross country. He had slept really well the night and jogs really nice and fresh. It's a little less windy, but he still has to give the flowers a look. And also with jogging, you want to make sure you give your horse time to jog on the straight line, not on the turn. And he passes again with flying colors. So we are able to continue on to the show jumping phase, our final phase.
Slew, number 70, out of Jasper, Georgia, riding for Rick Wallace. And for Dad, earning 16th place at 32.3.
So here we are in our show jump. And I wanted to make sure whenever I come in with Munson that I give him a good tour of the arena. So again, he is a bit of a spooky horse. And I want to make sure that I can kind of get him focused, get him kind of moving off my leg. And I have to create a little bit of a good pace for him. Coming to the first fence. He gives a little bit of a rub, but I'm going to balance him here. Going to really hold my body nice and quietly. The good part of it was I was able to ride Sharpie before, so I already kind of knew how the course rode. He jumps really well over that oxer. And then coming to this outside line, which a lot of horses were knocking this line down, but my two jumped this really well. As does Munson, jumps this like a really nice grid work. Coming to the Buckeye oxer. And I'm really happy with how he feels, how he's recovered. He's jumping really well. Nice and round. And then I had this rail over the narrow with Sharpie, but with Munson I was able to keep it up because we took off from a little bit of a longer spot, so gave it a little bit of a gap. And then coming to the final triple, I see a good spot to it. He jumps really nice and round. It was really such a shame to have that last rail down. I thought I was clean, but in fact we had the one rail, but overall I was really pleased with him. We finished up 14th. And he was actually second highest placing thoroughbred. So really, really pleased with how he finished up at our 2-star long.